Hi, welcome back to the channel. This week I'm going to be moving a Chrysler, installing some heat matting in the Travelall, bolstering a bench seat, and picking some parts off of a 62 Travelall and a 68 pickup truck in the middle of a field in New York. So let's get to it. So the first thing I did this past week was to move my father-in-law's 1966 Chrysler 300 convertible from his driveway where I'd put it before back into his garage. He needed a new garage door, and we had to replace a bunch of the drywall in his garage. So we did that. We had a company come in, they put a new door in, and so it had to move. And we had to drag it out. It had one frozen drum. So we got it out of the garage on dollies, put it up on jacks, busted out the drum, and got it rolling again, and then pushed it back into the garage with the help of a Harbor Freight winch and 3 strong backs. There's a coat of chassis black on this section of the frame. I've got to go down underneath and continue working on that. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to sand off that body mount because it's still covered in the original undercoating. We'll see. I just wire wheeled this whole thing and painted it, so now I'm going to put the fender skirts back on and cover this whole thing up. I'll pull it down, put the wheel back on, and get this side tied up, and that should be good to go. The other thing I did was put chassis black all down the frame on this side so that when the gas tank goes back in, this whole thing is protected, and it's good because I don't know when I'm going to get the gas tank back down, but this whole thing is almost ready for the gas tank to go back in. The final thing I've got to do is I've got to cut this bolt out. Got to figure out how I'm going to do that. And I've got a new bolt for this I'm going to test in just a minute. This is the other gas tank strap holder. I've got to cut this one out. What I'll probably have to do is weld the captive nut onto a small plate and then basically weld that plate onto this thing because this has come loose and there's just no way to get to it. Another thing I've accomplished today is I sprayed the whole ceiling in here with rust protectant. It's the Rust-Oleum brand stuff. I'm going to let this sit and cure. I might try putting one of the pieces of sound deadener up here this afternoon. We'll have to see how that goes. It's only 1:30. I have a good bit of light left, so let's see how we do it here today. So this is a product I got from Eastwood. It's called X-Mat, and it was really easy to use. What I wound up doing was measuring the roof of the truck about 18 times, marked it out with some chalk, made sure I knew where the center line was, made sure I knew how wide this thing was going to be, and then carefully put it into place, just made sure everything was aligned, and then peeled off all of this little tape and stuff on the back. The stuff I'd used previously was butyl based, so it was a lot heavier and thicker. It was made for firewalls and really serious heat abatement. This stuff is marketed as being used for headliners, so it's a lot lighter than that was. It's foam based, which I thought was interesting. This paper was probably the hardest part of the whole thing, getting this paper off the back of it. Once the paper came off, it was really easy to put in place and smooth it down, and went on quite quickly, actually. Here's a look at the heat mat on the ceiling and the sound deadener. This is a product called X-Mat by Eastwood, as you can see there. It went on really well. Be warned, the box says that it's 51 inches wide, but it actually wound up being about 48 inches. In my practice, the width is fine, but the length, the area going across is a little bit less. It's like 3 inches less than they say it's going to be. Other than that, really successful. I'm really happy with the way this went in. So we'll see how this does when it gets hot. Switching gears, I moved inside of the basement and started work on reupholstering the rear bench seat. This was my test case to see how things went together. The cover and foam on the seat base was already gone when I got this truck, and I'd sanded and painted this particular frame in the fall, so I started with this one. First, I put some synthetic burlap down over the springs and fastened it in place with some hog rings. Then I cut the foam out to fit the base with enough overlap to go down and around the front and sides. This took some measuring and remeasuring, and once I was happy with it, I got the scissors out and cut it down. When that was ready, I laid a section of 1/2 inch carpet padding down on top and cut that out to fit. I'm doing this kind of backwards here because the seat foam I got is firm but not extra firm, and I want a lot of support on both bench bases, the part you sit on. On the seat backs, I'll flip this so that the padding is under the foam and the foam is on top. Here I used a little Super 77 to glue the padding to the foam to make sure nothing moved around too much. When that was all ready, I got the cover out and started stretching it. This took a bit of time to get aligned and in place. The hardest part here was accounting for the scallops on the backside where the wheel wells go. The padding was thick, and honestly the cover needed to come forward an inch or so, but I got the cover to go on when I put all my weight on each side and pulled the edges in. So here's the result. I've got all the hog rings on with the exception of a couple. I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with these are the seat stops. These are like rubber stops that hit the floor when this thing goes down. I've got to ask Jeff, who built this for me, what I should do about cutting this vinyl, because I'm a little afraid to. And then I think I'm going to have to, because there are the two mounting bolts here and here that are on this backside for the backrest of the seat have got to go there. So I've got to ask him what I do with those. So I've actually left these alone, and actually I did that side, but I didn't do all of this side because I want to figure out what I'm supposed to do here in terms of making sure I can get to these bolts. But let me flip this over and show off what it looks like. For my first attempt, I don't think it looks too bad. It's a little offside down there. This piping dips a little bit because I couldn't get the backside to align as well as I wanted. But overall, I think I'm pretty happy with this. The back seam lined up pretty well. There's a little bit of a lump here and a little bit of a lump here because I think this could have shifted over just a hair more. But I don't know. I'm going to probably sit on it and think about it for a minute. What I actually might wind up doing is taking these rings out and trying to move it back a little bit. But so back before the green Travelall landed in my lap, I was talking with a guy in upstate New York, about half an hour away from my sister's house, who has a yard out in a field, and he's got a bunch of old trucks. He had, at that point, a Travelette up against a fence, and he had this 62 Travelall, and he was selling parts off of them. He was actually selling them all as whole pieces, but this actual Travelall is pretty far gone. Anyway, I got the green truck, and for the next 3 months, that was my entire focus, was basically just parting that thing out in the driveway and getting it done. But I knew I was headed back to my sister's house for Thanksgiving, so I got back in touch with him. He still had the Travelall, the Travelette was gone, and he was cool with me stopping by the day after Thanksgiving. So I packed my recovery kit and my warm weather clothes and went up there to see him. I was happy to have my warm weather clothes because it wound up snowing the day I was driving up there and the day I was actually there. He had sent me a couple of pictures of this truck, and it looked like it was in really bad shape from the pictures. But I always figure these things are cool to check out anyway. This was no different. It was actually worse than the pictures made it look to be. There was no good sheet metal on this truck. There were some good glass pieces. The only other things that were worth pulling off were the grill, the headlight surrounds, the marker lights, actually just the marker lenses, the marker chrome on the back. Both of those were really badly pitted. The aluminum on the front was in really good shape, so I wound up drilling that out. One row over and behind a couple of other trucks, I spied a very familiar shape and walked over to find this 68 pickup truck basically melting into the ground. It actually was in really, really good shape. The bed, the box, looks like it was in fantastic shape. The lights and everything on the back were really good. It had this cap on it probably, since the 1970s, and I think that really saved it. The bed was full of stuff, as you can see.
Bed springs.
So I walked around the whole thing and tried to see what was worth pulling out of it. I couldn't get into it because there's a tree growing up right next to the passenger door.
I don't think anybody's get that side of this. Oh, it does open. Okay. Wish I could get the other side open. Fortunately, we got a tree right here. Maybe I can reach a window crank. Nope. Philco, but not original. Bummer.
Walking around to the driver's door, at first I couldn't get the latch open, but once I banged it, the button opened with my hand a little bit. It actually unlatched, but I couldn't get the door open for love or money. The wing window was pretty frozen shut. I just couldn't get this door open, so I gave up on that. And as it turned out, this didn't have the steering column that I was looking for. This was another manual steering column shift truck, which I've already gotten an example of back in the garage at home. So there wasn't anything worth grabbing in the cab that I could see. Moving forward to the front, I started looking inside the engine compartment, and there's a really good radiator, which I don't need. I've already got one. I figured I'd take a look at the marker lights and pull those because I've got a bunch of really rusty looking buckets.
Let's go get some tools. What the hell? What do we got to lose?
I did set aside this Willys nose. Somebody had already picked it and put it aside. These things are really cool to have, so I figured I would ask him about this. I didn't wind up getting it, but I put it aside anyway. At this point, I walked back to the yellow truck to see if there was anything left. I just wanted to pick up the last rear tail marker and grab all of my other treasures and put them all in one place. like I said, there really wasn't much left to this truck. Nothing inside, nothing worth grabbing at all. The interior had been stripped and gutted and filled with junk, and all the sheet metal was pretty bad. So I basically just left it where it was. Back to the green truck, I pulled the driver's side rear marker out. The bolts all came out. Somebody had replaced them with stainless. It came out, and it was in really, really good shape. It was worth grabbing. So I pulled the unit as one piece and took that with me.
It was in really good shape.
The other rear light bucket was held in with 3 very rusty bolts that I didn't really have time to go in drill out, so I just left that one there. At this point, I was smart and thinking ahead a little bit and hosed everything that I thought I might be trying to get off of this truck down with some PB Blaster. And then I just tried some of the bolts to see what would happen, and remarkably, a bunch of them came out very easily. So at this point, I shifted over to looking at the marker light buckets to see what they looked like, and I was really shocked to see what shape these were in.
Wow. Wow. That's actually in really good shape. Alright, so that side's a little bit. That's actually not too bad either.
At this point, I got in touch with the guy who owned the yard and asked him what he would want for the entire nose clip, and we made a deal. This clip is in really, really good shape for what it is and where it was. As you can see there, the top is completely banged all to hell. Somebody had used it for resting giant hunks of iron on or something. But the bottom half, where these things always rust out, was in really, really good shape.
So I'm doing this the nuclear way. I've cut a hole out of this fender and basically am trying to basically separate the entire fender all the way down from the nose of this thing. This nose is actually in really good shape, so I'm going to try to get it. I think I can bang this out at some point. We'll have to see, but yeah, the bottom half of this is in really good shape, so I'm going to try to grab this, or I am grabbing this. Right now I'm just having a problem with the batteries in my cordless grinder dying pretty quickly. I should have gotten the bigger, fatter ones, but you know, live and learn. So next I've got to go through this, or at least get this bolt out. This will separate, and then I can go down through there. And I think that'll separate the rest of this from here. There are no more bolts there, as far as I can tell. And then I've got to get this bolt here. I'm probably gonna have to cut it, and I don't know how I'm gonna get to it. It's gonna be tricky, but this bolt's got to come out, and then this whole unit will lift out. And you can see it's already pretty loose here. So sun's coming out up there. It's been a kind of day where it's been snowing and then sunny and then snowing and sunny. This is just an incredible yard full of good stuff. Chevy, Willys, Chevy, Plymouth, I think. What is this one? Yeah, Plymouth. I can't remember what this is. Dodge, Studebaker. There's a forward control there. I mean, just incredible stuff in here. A lot of it is really far gone, but it's been really fun to go through here and pick. Let me get to work on this last couple of bolts, and then I'll come back.
At this point, I was really glad to have a cordless angle grinder. I put a bunch of cut off wheels in my bag and proceeded to basically go through the entire front clip of this truck, because there are something like 9 bolts inside the eyebrow of these things, and they're just impossible to get off unless you have a whole lot of time, a lift, a bucket of PB Blaster, and a third arm. Both front fenders were rotted in the usual C-Series way, so don't worry, I didn't kill anything that was worth saving. I did find this little snail, though.
All right, last thing I got to do is get through this bolt here, and then I think this thing will come off. I can't get to it underneath because the frame is there. I've got the bolt off, but it just will not come out, and I can't get anything in there to get any leverage or knock it out with a hammer. So I'm going to cut the top of the bolt off and see if I can just pop it off that way. Otherwise, I think everything is free and we are ready to go. So let me go get another battery for this thing. Again, snowing 2 minutes ago. Now it's beautiful out here. Walk this back. An old X-Class. There's a Maverick up on its side. Some sort of an old fire truck, looks like. Is that? I gotta go peek this out really quick. It looks like a Chevy fire truck. Maybe a Bolero wagon right there. No, that's something else. Chrysler. Giant generator. Well, a diesel of some kind. Big fins there. There's a Dodge. Another Studebaker. Washington. Pontiac wagon. Oh, Gran Turismo. Wow. Studebaker. Very old truck. Hup. 6. Wow. Incredible. Chevy, I mean, it just keeps going back. Incredible. Looks like it was a horse trailer. Hudson. Automatic drive. Can't see what that is. I don't know if I'd get past here. Oh, wow, look at that. That's gorgeous. Big swan. Wow. I don't know what that is. I'll look it up later. Some newer stuff over there. It just keeps going on and on. This is a Chrysler. I don't know what year that is, but it's been open to the ages forever. So it's a Caterpillar diesel. Set up for generator. And that's when you know you're in New York, when you see a Nomo Cuomo bumper sticker. All right, let's get around this thing and go get a battery. With a little more cutting, I got that center mount bolt out and started trying to jimmy the entire front clip out. What I had to do here was slide the bottom backwards and the front forwards so that it would clear the top lip of an aftermarket bumper. You can see it there. It's got the mount for a tire on it. It had been built over the bottom lip of that entire clip. And so it was just a careful amount of jimmying back and forth to get it. But there you are. There you are. That was enough work. Jeez. And of course, it fell down and broke the wheel. Oh well.
So after I loaded up my car, the owner took me on a tour of the rest of the yard, and I got to see some just amazing stuff that he's got squirreled away up there. I definitely want to come back to this yard. I'll have to come back in either the early spring or late fall because it's so overgrown. There's just no way you'd be able to get in here in the heat of the summer.
I'm back at the house. I'm going to do a quick review of these two pieces. This is the one I just got from this weekend. As you can see, there's some stuff that is not great. That whole section of the nose is dented up pretty well, but this part down here is in really pretty decent shape, except for the part that was tucked under the bumper. Both of these wells here are in really, really good shape. They're full of mud. I'll have to clean that out, but they're not rotted through. I mean, I can actually see metal there. I don't have that in my truck. This whole section here is in really good shape. It's when it gets to about there that it gets a little funky. And then this side is the same way. It's in pretty rough shape. But overall, you know, there's still metal on this thing. If I look underneath here, if I tip this up, that's all in really good shape. So I'm really pretty happy with that. This is the one from the green truck that I parted out, and you can see here, this is what I was expecting. This kind of rot, this kind of rot here. You can see it's rotting in the same place there. And then if you look at this underneath, I lift this up, that's in really rough shape where it was sitting on the frame rail here. This stuff is really bad. The chrome on this is a little bit better, well, better and worse. And I do have the headlight surrounds for this. These are a little bumped up, but it's not too bad. I'll flip these over next and show you the backside. This is the backside of the new one. As you can see here, all of that sheet metal is in fantastic shape. These buckets are clean. This is actually enclosed, whereas that one is not, which is really interesting. This is the first time I've seen that on any of these. This whole section is enclosed. So, and then this is the part of the inner fender that I cut out. All this area under here is in fantastic shape. As I go across, you know, this lip, as I was expecting, is not in great shape. That's fine. This is all in super good shape down here. The only rust is actually on the fender as I go inside this lip here. So when I take this part off, we'll see how everything looks. But I mean, for what I paid for it, I've got a really good starting point here. I'm really happy with this. This is the green truck, and you can see here, some parts are better, some parts are worse. This is rusted through. This is all, you know, bent to hell. The whole cross member there, that section there is really bad. And then that part there is rusted through too. This whole area is really pretty bad. So, you know, I'll make a good one out of this one. Next thing I've got to do, like I said, is pull the fender sides off, see what the rest of this looks like, pull the lights out and see what the back side of that is. And I'm going to see if I can make a good one out of this. This is straight along here. And if I do something, I would have to figure out how to put a curve in this for mine. So I'll have to see. Maybe I could cut out this section that goes down here, like from the area down here across, because this part up here is actually not too bad. It's everything south of here. Everything behind this is gone. Everything behind this is gone, and you can see here, this whole area is rusted out. So maybe I would go around here. I'm gonna have to put them side by side and see what they look like, but that's a project for, you know, spring or summertime. And then the other stuff I've got here really quick. One surround for a rear tail light. This is really pretty shot. I don't know why I even grabbed this, but You know, what the hell. Marker light lens. This was in really good shape. The other one was broken. So I grabbed this. This is the original marker light from the 62. When I told these are a little harder to find, I thought it was kind of cool. It's broken. The other one was cracked in half. I just grabbed it for the hell of it. Two really good tail light lenses, which are in fantastic shape. This one is marked International Harvester right there. I think. Is this one? Yeah, this one's marked International Harvester right there. And then this one. And then this comes with a really good bucket. This bucket is in fantastic shape. Just a little bit of surface rust on the back, but I can fool with that. This is the surround for the grommet that goes around the gasket for the steering wheel. The steering wheel comes out through here. And then I think this goes over top of that. So I'm going to clean this up. And then finally, this is a door pull for the rear of the barn door. Just like that. So I'm going to soak this and see if I can clean it up and figure out how to take it all apart to get the lock barrel out. And I mean, it's dinged up, but I want to basically disassemble it to see how this one comes apart and get a lock together for this so I can actually rekey this to the other locks in the truck. So this is really cool to have. That's the haul. I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with this one, but that one is my next project, or that'll be like I said, summer project. That's going to do it for this week. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, like and subscribe, and I'll have a link here for some merch in a couple of minutes. Everything you buy helps the channel a little bit more, so pick up some shirts. They're on sale right now, right before Christmas time. So there's some good deals to be had there. Travelalls, Old Scouts, and New Scouts. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.